A jury quickly acquits a cop of killing a black man in distress. I want to go to the fatal encounter and then we'll talk about the update. Here it is.
Fire! Put it down. Put that. Hey! Stop! Fire! Stay down. Stay down. Don't move. Stay down. Stop. Don't move.
I'm dead! Okay? I'm dead! Dead!
Stop.
Dead! Dead!
Stay on his head. Can we get that other arm?
Can you get one, Bert?
I'm gonna keep this locked up.
We got him over here, Bert. We got him over here. I'm holding his head. Hold on.
Fine. He's gotta be. Swing that cuff.
I'm holding it.
Got too much. Got too much. There we go.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. It was locked up.
Yeah.
Put him up. Adam, Ahmad, and Stephen Sanchez, two cops, Indianapolis, were found not guilty of manslaughter and other charges in connection with the death of a black man who was shot with a taser and restrained face down while being handcuffed in 2022. The jury acquitted both on December 6th after less than 3 hours of deliberation. The officers went on trial together, with the jury acquitting them on all charges, including one felony count each of involuntary manslaughter, reckless homicide, battery resulting in serious bodily injury, and battery resulting in moderate injury, as well as a misdemeanor charge of battery. There's a lot to this story. I believe the jury got it wrong. I believe the jury was biased toward them, and that's typically how it is preferred by a defense attorney in jury selection. That's why they do it. So the stunning conclusion after a 5-day trial of the death of Herman Whitfield III, who was a gifted pianist. In a statement following the verdicts, Marion County prosecutor Ryan Mears expressed heartbreak for Whitfield's family. Now, I want you to understand, the prosecutor believed these cops should be held accountable. So the prosecutor did exactly what the prosecutor was supposed to do. On April 25th, 2022, while at his home in Indianapolis, Indiana, Mr. Whitfield experienced a mental health crisis, and his parents, Gladys and Herman Whitfield Jr., they did what any good parents would do, and they called for help when it seemed his behavior turned unpredictable. When officers arrived, the situation escalated. With the 389-pound Whitfield III tossing items and officers deploying a taser. Moments later, as officers held him down on the floor of his parents' dining room, Whitfield III screamed, "I can't breathe." Okay. Prosecutors claimed at trial that the officers held Whitfield face down longer than needed, with Chief Trial Deputy for the Marion County Prosecutor's Office, Daniel, telling the jury, quote, essentially, his heart and lungs could no longer function properly. When they kept him in that position, they did so recklessly. Whitfield was pronounced dead at the local hospital. Now, it is interesting that officers are trained on how that position and others will impact organs in the body because they can no longer receive oxygen. They start to break down. I heard one elected sheriff say something to me that was very wise. He gave a standing command: believe anyone who says I can't breathe. Just believe them all and do something different so they can. It doesn't matter if you think they are lying or being hyperbolic. It doesn't matter. Believe all of them, because at least then you know you have probably saved a life at best, but it's no skin off your back. It doesn't harm anything. You already have the individual subdued. Gifted individual. Cops come in, they see a large Black man breaking stuff at his parents' home. I'm sure the parents would have allowed everything in their house to be broken if they could have their son. Ahmad, 32, Sanchez, 35, were indicted by a grand jury April 2023, following nearly a year demand from Whitfield's family for release of the full body camera footage from his encounter with police and calls for the firing of up to 6 officers involved. The body cam footage released in January 2023 captures Whitfield's final moments during the encounter with officers. Throughout the legal process, both officers have remained on administrative duty while the Metropolitan Police Department, Chief Chris Bailey announced on X that, quote, that following the refresher training, the officers will return to their regular jobs. Whitfield's family filed a wrongful death lawsuit on June 22nd, 2022, claiming excessive force and naming the police department and the 6 officers involved. We'll try to bring you details as that goes through the court. But I want to bring your attention to something. What was the chief's recommendation to the cops charged basically with murder? What was the chief's recommendation? That they should go through their refresher training. What does refresher training mean? It means that you are already trained that this particular move would kill someone. So we're going to put you back in that same training. It's called refresher training, to remind you that this position kills. All cops are trained, once again, on these particular positions of the human body. All right, Waz, thoughts?
Man, the first thing that comes to mind is, my heart goes out to the parents of this guy who actually called the authorities. And I can only imagine what's going through their minds, every day, having to think about the fact that, had they not called the police in the first place, they would have never been there. And all likelihood is that their son would be around. The second thing that comes to mind is just how broken our healthcare system is. When it pertains to people who are suffering mental health crises. I think a lot of people on our side, Dr. Richey, quite frankly, who believe that even people who exhibit violent behaviors, and obviously, it's trouble getting them to take their meds, that they shouldn't be forced, that we got this laissez-faire sort of libertarian, almost this idea that we should leave these folks alone and leave them to their own devices when it comes to taking their meds. And I think the problem with that is when they're not having interactions with the police, they're having interactions with really violent people out there in the world, man, who get violent with these folks, even though they can recognize that they're having a mental health episode that is beyond their control when they're not taking their medicine, man. And so that's what comes to my mind, man. These cops acted recklessly. I wish that there was some comeuppance for them, because clearly this guy shouldn't have died at their hands from this call. Nobody's life was in danger. He wasn't about to hurt somebody in some permanent kind of way. I wish they were being punished, but I think the system is kind of flawed in how we go about helping people who are prone to have episodes where sometimes they become violent. I think that's the sad truth of it. Not everybody who has mental health issues becomes violent with the people around them, but the fact that this man's own family was like, look, there's nothing we could do. We need to call in some help. I just think the system of how we deal with these things is broken.
You are correct, dear brother. And it's the microcosm and macrocosm, right? The microcosm of that decision, that one family the horror now they have to face. But the macrocosm is they call 911 because there's no other system typically in a jurisdiction that will deal with a mental health crisis in an efficient way. And the only thing you have is a police officer who, good luck if they have any training whatsoever in dealing with something like this. When you call 911, always remember you are calling guns to the scene. So just understand if it is an emergency, guns are now involved, period. Weapons are involved. Combat may be involved. They're trained in combat. This is what you're calling.